Today, I'd like to talk quite a bit about the energy field of mid and late July, as it will be a turbulent period. But before I talk about the energy of July, I would like to say a few words about my purpose of sharing my individual perspective on current events through the lens of human design. The matter is that human design can never predict events, but it can show what will be happening in its essence. It provides a broader view, a deeper view, and therefore it gives an ability to see clearly. So this is the perspective from which I always view transits, looking at the larger global processes. And the current global processes are fundamentally transformational. We are rushing towards the end of the current 400-year cycle, which is closing the door for humanity and is opening them for new species that will begin to appear in 2027. So if it seems like biblical times on Earth right now, it's not just your imagination. By the way, I have a recorded seminar on transitioning into this new era, to the era of the sleeping phoenix, where I show you in detail what exactly is changing and in what direction. Because what is coming requires preparedness, psychological, physical, and spiritual. So you can find a link to buy the seminar in the comments to this video. Well, for now, I want to discuss the transits of mid and late July and even look a bit further ahead, but all through this prism I mentioned before. These transits, like any others, are the part of the global transition. We don't know how exactly the transits will manifest in events, but we can look at the essence of what they bring, which provides a sharper perspective and some, let's say, immunity from being overwhelmed by the chaos and often pain of what is happening. So let's start. We have a significant event ahead, the meeting of Uranus and Mars. Many astrologers have already commented on this. Such a meeting happens once every 2 years, and it sets a certain program for the next 2 years. So let's look at them through the lens of human design. First of all, what is Uranus? Uranus symbolizes revolutionary changes, something unexpected, something shocking that suddenly appears and changes everything. It represents something revolutionary new. That's why Uranus is often associated with technologies. When it comes to Mars, it embodies warlike, immature energy, full of passions that in the end lead to transformations due to this uncontrollable and immature nature. So Uranus and Mars meet, and this meeting itself promises warlike, explosive progress, change, revolution, transformation. And this warlike nature of the moment is even intensified by the contexts which is created by the lunar nodes. The nodes are now in the first line of gate 21 and 48. And this context is about collective control, control through power. In the first line of gate 21, the message is about the use of force as a last resort. It's a warning. It's like someone is warning, don't you dare control me. And they warn through a fierce actions. There is also another manifestation warning through peacefulness, but Russia's recent attack on Ukraine on July the 8th make me think that the fierce scenario will likely play out. So the explosive meeting of Uranus and Mars, which occurs against the backdrop of fierce actions to seize control. Well, I want to show you the logic of where the transits are leading us. And to do that, we need to step back and look at the previous conjunction of Mars and Uranus. It was in summer of 2022. And this period is now ending. That meeting in 2022 was in the second gate, 6th line. And those of you who are deeply familiar with human design will understand. And for the others, I will just say, this was about the sudden appearance of a new direction in the world. But this new direction into something new was hesitant to move forward. It was observed by mundane security concerns. It's like, why should I go there? What if there's something unsafe ahead? And this need for security distorted awareness, distorted it to the point of extreme destructiveness and even perversion. There's this essence of the 6th line where Uranus and Mars met. And indeed, what have we observed? What has been happening since 2022? Well, one of the most significant manifestation of this new direction, of this sudden turn, was the start of the full-scale war in Ukraine. And this has certainly changed humanity's direction, no doubts. Remember how everyone suddenly forgot about COVID, which had been the focus of the previous 2 years or even more. A new theme emerged: war and the threat to global security. So this was this new direction that has been constantly revolved around security. Global politics were all about preventing another disaster, avoiding World War III, avoiding a nuclear explosion, etc., etc. And this often led to perverse and destructive decisions. We've observed these movements with 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Well, that was the program. Uranus and Mars in the second gate, 6th line, ensured this program for the 2 years. What happened then? Then Uranus moved through gate 23. This gate is called splitting apart. It was a period of splitting apart, dividing, fragmenting, dividing and splitting apart of international unions, organizations, political parties, countries, etc., etc. Splitting apart by introducing new ideas about how the world is, turning our notions of black and white, good and evil upside down. It created a revolution in our understanding of the world and things, converting many to new beliefs, shaking established norms. And this was the program for this current year. If you're interested, watch my 2024 Rave New Year Focused. It's free. I'll put the link in the description to this video. So that was the process we've gone through. And now, in July, everything is changing because a new 2-year cycle begins. Uranus and Mars meet again. And again, there will be shake-up and sharp transformations. But this time, the conjunction occurs in the 8th gate. And this is very interesting because this is a gate which is called holding together. Those who were split apart, primarily on a mental level in their views, now will be holding together within new groups, united by this new understanding, by this new knowledge. This theme of holding together sounds very nice, but I should remind you that everything happening now is happening within the larger process, the process of the transition to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, bringing decline of our civilization. So the current meeting of Uranus and Mars happens in the 8th gate, the gate of contribution or the gate of holding together. Just a few words about this gate for you to understand the theme it carries. This gate is about contributing individual efforts to group goals. There's a group, a common good, and the 8th gate carries the word that for the whole to exist, and most importantly, develop, individual creative contributions are needed. But this contribution cannot be imposed on the collective. Someone with the 8th gate would just stand up and say, I know what I can do. I know I can find the way, and leaves. And whether anyone follows or not doesn't concern them. So we can immediately say that this meeting of Uranus and Mars initiates a cycle lasting 2 years, where this process of holding together around such leaders, because the 8th gate is the leadership gate, will occur, with leaders standing up and saying, I know I can go my way. If you want, feel free to follow me. Something sudden and warlike might happen now, bringing mutation to the world, leading to new groups, new unions formed on the new grounds. There might be some new groups we could not even imagine to hold together before. If I specify further, we can look at the line where Mars and Uranus meet, the line of the 8th gate. They meet in the junction of the 2nd and the 3rd lines, so they will be both. The 2nd line is called service. In exaltation, it is about selfless service. So some will hold together with others and make selfless contributions to what is being born now. But from observing transits in the collective, I see that the fall tends to play out. So in the fall, in detriment, the reward, this line speaks about the reward in reward as a prerequisite for service. It's like, I'm ready to contribute to our new endeavor, but what's in it for me? That's the 2nd line. The 3rd line is about focusing not on the substance of communal actions, but on style. In the best case, it's about superficial relationships, and at worst, it's about deception. Saying one thing, doing another thing, thinking a third. And there's another nuance here. Everyone thinks that they are successfully fooling others, but this deception is obvious to all. So a new cycle begins when the direction that emerged in 2022, when Mars and Uranus met in the 2nd gate, now will take a specific form through holding together in new groups. But the essence of these new relationships, this new contribution, will be phony, false, because each individual will want to will want a reward for their contribution. I also want to mention that essentially everyone's motivation on Earth concerning any aspect of life now is driven by the motivation of the first color. Those of you who are familiar with human design know what I mean. And for others, I will say, since around 2016 until 2027, human motivation is fear. This is the program. This is important to understand in everything happening these years. The global frequency programs us to fear. And any changes, any actions, any even progress, any decisions are dictated by fear. This is what in our mind. So you should understand that this very advantage of this, what will I get for contributing to our group? This is fundamentally driven by fear. Any agreements or alliances in the next 2 years will be highly individualized based on the question, what do I get out of being with you? And, overall, we are moving into a new era focused entirely on the individual. The value of community, of the global community, will be diminishing with time. Alliances and unions might form, of course, but they will be situational, not based on duty, not based on willpower or any kind of rules, but on whether there is a response, energy to support them. I created a body graph for the exact moment of Uranus-Mars conjunction, which is on the 16th of July. And I looked at the conditioning provided by other significant planets. And I've got an even more complete picture. All the slow planets, in one way or another, contribute to mutation and change. I won't go now through all of them, but I'd like to mention only two, Pluto and Jupiter. I'll start with Pluto. Pluto is my favorite one, because Pluto is the greatest transformer, which is currently closing our cycle and the doors for our civilization. It is in the 60th gate, the gate of limitation of the old. Right now, it's in the 5th line, and this is about leaders. This line is about leaders. It's about how leading forces, when faced with limitations, try to break through. But even if they succeed, they immediately face new limitations. So the deeper into the forest, the less room for maneuver for leaders. The more they are restricted in their means. And this theme of the 21st gate, first line, remember, use of force as the last resort, this is exactly what they will be forced to apply now. The next planet is Jupiter. Of course, Jupiter, because this is the cherry on top for this analysis. Since all which is happening right now, it is happening under the rays of Jupiter, which expands qualities of the gate it goes through. And it also sets the law. So what does it expand, and what law does it proclaim? It is change. From July 17th, Jupiter enters gate 35, the gate of change, the gate of progress. This is about progress in principle, but more specifically about progress in relationships. We have been stuck in crisis for so long, and I must say we will continue to be stuck for a while in the crisis. But for a time, for 1 month, when Jupiter enters gate 35, changes will come sharply. Why sharply? Because Uranus and Mars will do their job. So combining all of the above, the background frequency for mid and late July and the frequency which sets the program for the next cycle, which is 2 years long. So this background frequency is expansive change. Changes in relationships, in interactions, sudden, warlike, unexpected, against the backdrop of leaders' confusion, who are forced to resort to fierce measures and rally into new, unexpected, perhaps recently even unimaginable groups. And this holding together will be essentially false, often serving not so much the common good by primarily to receive one's own reward for contributing to the common good. This falseness, this shallowness of attempts to disguise through a certain style will come to light. They will be revealed one way or another. But in any case, all this leads to mutation, to something that has not happened before. And this summer is the beginning of changes, and there will be no return to the old. Well, to summarize, let's wait for changes. Let's observe the changes and let us make decisions in our own lives based on our strategy and authority, because this allows not to be blindly involved in living out collective karma. I will be happy to receive your comments, your observations, your questions, and I hope this information sheds some light of understanding, especially in those moments when it seems that the light is dimming.